What's up, guys? This is That Really Gross Guy, and today in our Final Fantasy XIV gameplay we are going to be entering our first dungeon. So we are going to come right over here and talk to Bateron and get this quest started. If you guys have not done a dungeon so far, it is a type of raid where you jump in with at least for now 3 other players. I'm not sure if the raids get larger as you go on and earn more raids, but you jump in and you'll have the game actually search for 3 other players that are interested in the same dungeon, and you will jump in based on your class. But anyways, like I said, the dungeon is given in this quest, and you come right over here on Limsa Lominsa, which is your first dungeon. You talk to this yellow jacket, and it gives you access to Stasha, which is your first dungeon, and is as simple as coming over here to the entrance, and basically you have to toggle the dungeon itself, click join, and you can see the status right here. And I'm going to skip a few minutes ahead, and here we go. You commence with the players that you were matched up with, and shortly you will jump right into the game with those players. So as you can see, you start right off, and it kind of gives you a heads up of the dungeon, and here you are with your players, and you get right into it. It is mostly composed of some sort of tank class, 2 I guess DPS style classes, that, you know, whether it's ranged or whatnot. As you can see, there is me, the Arcanist, as well as this archer. You have is that a Lancer? Possibly a Lancer up front, and a white mage as well, to actually heal the party members. The best thing about the dungeons is the fact that there are multiple objectives that you are trying to obtain, and this really opens up some of the playability in the game. You've been running a lot of quests that have been pretty straightforward. The dungeons are straightforward, however, like I said, there are quite a few objectives. This one, for instance, has 5 specific objectives that you have to accomplish before you complete the dungeon, and it is a good probably 20 minutes or so per dungeon, and the loot turns out pretty good. There's a good chance of dropping equipment, as well as a chance of dropping some rare loot. Shortly you will see kind of how that system works if you are not familiar with the system so far. But basically, you'll open a chest, and if it is a piece of equipment, only one player can actually get it, so a screen will pop up kind of giving you the overall view on the item itself, and you can choose whether you need the equipment, and it'll only allow you if it is actually suitable for your character. So if you're an Arcanist and it happens to be something for a gladiator, you cannot have the option to need it because your character does not have the required class. There is also the option to push greed, and greed is the kind of an ability to say you want it, kind of prioritize over the other players, I guess. Basically, you're greedy and you're trying to take the item, regardless of whether you need it or not. And then the option to pass is available too. I believe if all 4 players pass on the equipment, it is random to who it goes to. However, if you pass on it and another player says they need it or they greed it, then you have no chance of getting the item, which is good. I do pass on most items if I really don't need them or if I have better equipment, just because other players, have the opportunity to get it, or possibly sell it if they really wanted to. But it is okay to click need if you would like the item and it suits your character. People don't tend to greed. You will find a few people that greed every item, which is not really, in my opinion, not nice, but it is what it is. But most of these guys are coming through just trying to level, grab some loot, and if they're not interested, they'll pass on it, so you have the opportunity to gain some decent items. One thing that personally bothers me is sometimes you jump into a game and for whatever reason the players are running through the dungeon and not even bother to get the loot. There may be a room off to the side that you don't necessarily need to go in, but it has a treasure chest in it, and they choose not to go after any of the loot, and that's kind of frustrating, especially when you have a lower level player in the guild or in the room. I mean, I've just started out, but I've started out with some people that are running the dungeon for the very first time, and it's good to get some of those guys some equipment, if they need it. And like I said, if you really don't want it, you can pass on it. Just take a minute or two to go kill a few more enemies and collect the chest, and if it's something you really don't want and you're not in there for loot, you can pass on it and give someone else the chance to take it. But anyways, I digress. So we're in here, we're still on our first objective. We're about 6 minutes in, and we're taking down these enemies, and so far it's pretty good. No one's had any health problems, so we've got a decent healer. I'm probably the newest in the room. And it looks like coming up here we have our first mini-boss. That's the fun thing about the dungeon too, is you can run into more than one boss. You have 1 or 2 mini-bosses before the final boss, and they all have great experience opportunities. I believe I level up, at least experience-wise, I believe I gain enough experience to completely level up 1 full time. I think I started about halfway through, but by the time I finish, I do believe I'm well into my next level. But here we are fighting a coral. It is named the Chopper, and based on our level and our guys, we actually take him down pretty quickly, which is great. My general rule of thumb is, as an Arcanist, I try to keep those the bio up and those damages keep on ticking away, and sure enough, we take him down with absolutely no problem. And there's the little tutorial if you choose to read it. the option to select loot, and as you can see, I see the loot, and for now I was waiting to see if anyone actually was choosing to take it. It doesn't tell you whether they want it or not, but if everyone votes, I make sure I vote and I pass on it because I really don't need it. I know I'm going to get equipment better than it any second now. So there's no need. If you really don't need it, it's okay to pass. If everyone passes, then you have a chance to get it anyways. And we found the captain. Unfortunately, this first time he does run away. And here's an example, like I said, that there's a bow that I cannot use for my class, and I don't have the option to click need. It would be pretty cool to gain a more rare item, but unfortunately it's not something I really need, so I pass on it as well. Especially with an archer in the room, I chose to pass on it. If he really wants it, then he can take it, because that's more geared towards his class, and I'm not gonna be that guy. And now that we've unlocked that door, it looks like we are on our last objective. We open the hidden door by the first mini-boss. We fought ourselves the pirate captain, and we just opened that door, and we are going to finish off the pirate captain, Captain Madison, now that we have made it back to him. And our last objective is to defeat the final boss. I'm not even going to bother trying to pronounce that. And of course, no boss fight would be complete without him summoning in some extra monsters for us to kill, or some sort of enemy. And of course, we get some scurvy dogs that the pirate sends in, and doesn't bother me none. That's just a little bit more experience. And with this, hopefully this one. No, well, shortly enough, I'm just seconds away from gaining a new level. And there we have it. And there you have it. Here we go. This is our final objective and the dungeon boss. So you basically want to make sure you're inside of that purple gate. The battleground does close off. Say one of your guys is AFK and is not really paying attention for some reason and is not in here, or perhaps someone was knocked out and they're making their way back to you guys. You do not want to actually engage the boss, because once you do, you have about a 15-second window from where the battlefield actually closes off. So make sure you guys are all prepared and ready, and go in and start doing some damage. Looks like the four of us have got this guy pretty well taken care of. Pretty quick battle, keeping that poison on him and just keeping some damage going in the meantime. He does summon in some other monsters, but it wasn't really a problem. We just kept on focusing on the boss, and that's the finisher. It is done. Of course, no battle would be complete without the Final Fantasy fanfare. And sure enough, you have the loot that he drops, and not really something I need, so I'll pass on that. And player commendation, if you catch that, that is something you can actually kind of give a kudos to the guys you were working with. You get to select one of the players and say that they did a really good job, and it helps kind of boost their profile. It shows other players who are trying to jump into the game that they are going to be playing with people who have actually done a lot of dungeons and did a good job when they did them. But anyways, we have the chance to turn in this quest. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the first dungeon, and if you guys are going to be playing, I hope you guys actually enjoy it as well. Now that we're here, we are going to run over to the Drowning Wench and talk to Bateron and turn in our quest. So you do have this little conversation that goes on. Apparently these guys were hoping to attempt to clear the dungeon, and they find out that you have actually made it back, and you have already done so, and they're a little jealous, we'll just say. But we'll move on from this and get right into completing the dungeon and finishing off the video. So that is it, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and hopefully I'll see you guys again soon. We have 2 more dungeons coming up, and those are just as enjoyable, if not more, than this one that you just saw. And hopefully you guys stick around for that. Stay tuned and subscribe if you would like. But other than that, take it easy, guys, and have a good one.